Tamika. Thank you guys so much for joining me for yet another episode of Tuesday with Tamika, where y'all already know what it is. We believe in lifting as we climb, turning our trials into treasures, living a life to inspire and not impress, opening up and allowing God to fully restore us, and loving as if we have never been hurt. Today I was at a school speaking to a group of students, and they were sixth graders. So they were a little hard to control because they all wanted to talk. And I was telling them, it is beautiful when we use our voice. Our voice is very powerful. It's really beautiful and really encouraging when we learn to speak up and stand out. However, it is also very important when we listen. It is very imperative for us to not only speak, but for us to listen. And sometimes we're not listening correctly, which doesn't guide us in what the right things to say because we're not listening. So I believe today's guest is really going to help us to not only speak up and stand out, but to also the art of listening, the art of really getting your voice heard when you're able to listen to the other person's point of view, but really stand in your truth. And that can only happen when you have all the information, when we're both listening and, as my kids would say, stand on business and really be able to stand on business and share your authentic truth. I don't want to belabor this podcast too long. What I do want to do, or my intro too long, I should say, what I do want to do is just remind you that this year in 2025, not only are we speaking up and standing out, but we're doing it with authenticity, integrity, and we get into the bag, y'all. So don't forget to go over to my website, tuesdaywithtamika.com, and join the Digital Boss Academy, where you can learn how to start your own coaching company, your own digital marketing company. And you're going to do it by speaking up and standing out. Without further ado, let me hush so I can listen and help the TWT family get some jewels that's going to help enlighten, encourage, and enlarge your territory. Without further ado, hey Alex, you got a minute?
I do. Thank you, Tamika. That's a wonderful intro. I love the sprinklings, right, of the little breadcrumbs of speaking up and standing out. And for you watching, the audience listening, my name is Alex Dumas. From New York, but now North Carolina has been home. I'm a professional speaker, international best-selling author, leadership coach. I've been a leading voice in confidence, especially for Black and Brown, Black Indigenous people of color for the past, I don't know, 5, 6 years of sorts of working with different individuals in the executive spaces, entrepreneurs, and just helping our people and folks who are of the global majority find a place to amplify their voices, amplify their impact and their influence.
Mm. Alex, you said something already just in your intro about us being the global majority. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of
Yeah.
people, we look at what society tells us and we deem it to be true. And it causes us to lack confidence. What do you think are markers that help us really inhabit our confidence? Like, what are some ways that you could see, like, as a coach, I know if you're anything like me, and I could tell you are, you could look at somebody and be like, oh man, they have something, but I want to help pull that confidence out. What are some of those things, Alex?
Yeah, great question. For me, I like to teach this in a three-part framework from the stage that I call WIN. So WIN. And the first part of that, the W meaning your worth, your value, your own
Mm,
identity, how you see yourself. Because I think if we're not able to see it, then we can't be it.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, wow, I want to do that, but I don't know how. Maybe it's not meant for me. I'm fortunate that when I first got introduced to personal development, the self help realm, coaching, speaking, whatever you want to call it, I saw people like E.T., like Les Brown, right? These different goats, Lisa Nichols, Jan Lin Van Sant. I'm like, wow, these faces of color, they're doing it and they're making good livings, right? They're living in abundance. So that's possible. Rather than look at it from maybe a lens I would have had maybe when I was 15, 16 of like, oh, they're so great. I could never. Or
Mm,
who am I to do that? And my voice doesn't matter. My story doesn't matter. So it's that worth piece that we have to live into, we have to grow into. And it's not easy. It's a lifelong process, but just acknowledging yourself as like, you know what, I'm able to do this. I have more skills than I think is possible. I actually have this track record of success if we slow down. And this is something I work with my clients on. It's just slowing down. Let's take the inventory of like what you've done so far, and then we shift over into like the portion of it. This is like the mortar, as I like to call it, and the I stands for intentions. So once we
mm,
have an idea about who we are, like our identity as far as our worth goes, now we got to look at why are we doing what we do. Because
mm.
if it's for a bigger purpose, it's for a bigger mission. I like to call it building a bigger bubble, right? As our confidence grows, as we expand our thought, our consciousness, we have to stay focused on what's the real intention, what I'm doing. Is it just to get a quick bag? Is it here just get some quick money, quick cash grab, but no impact?
Mm.
All right, and we see that happen, right? Especially through the pandemic a couple of years ago, where people are like, "Hey, I'm doing this now. I got this kind of business," and like that's not sustainable. It fizzles out, and it's not something that compels. And I would
Mhm.
really say it's not a thing that can enroll. If you look at the top businesses in the world, there's always a story. There's always a story behind it. There's something that magnetizes, that attracts people to it because people want to be a part of something bigger than themselves, right?
Yeah.
It's one thing to be me, Alex, speaker, coach, this and that. But if I'm thinking about, wow, the generations, just from my kids and then other kids in my area and around the world, wow, what if one thing I could say could uplift them? Right. So that fuels me. It's not me coming as a savior, but it's me fueled by the opportunity to help transform and serve. So the last piece of this now is the end, the network, because we have this fallacy in America in the Western world that we're self-made millionaires, Tamika. I can do it all by myself. I've got it all
Right,
covered.
right.
It's me. I'm the one. I'm the MVP. Yes, you be the MVP, but I want to ask you this. How many championships did Michael Jordan win by himself?
Not a one.
How many championships did LeBron James win by himself? How many did Kobe, rest his soul, win by himself? It took a team. As great
Mhm.
as these individual players were, they needed that guy who was the enforcer. They needed a guy who's a spot up shooter. They needed a guy who's a rebounder. They needed a guy who can complement, drop in 15 to 20 a night to take that pressure over them. So when we
Mm,
think about our networks, our inner circles, we have to look at who are the people that are we're surrounding ourselves with, right? Because there's this old expression that birds of a feather, they flock together. Well, I'm interested in being with eagles, folks that are
mhm,
soaring, folks that are up to something big in life, not the ducks. And there's no
mm,
offense if you are a duck as far as your results go. It's not an insult, but I want you to take it a little personal. Like, wait a minute, I'm not a duck, right? And just that little seed, that little fire, that competitive edge in you. Now you got to look at who's around me, who can help me, what are the resources that are available to me, and if we
mm,
can put that all together, then we win, and everybody gets to win, including you. So that's
mm.
my TED talk for today.
Yeah. Yes. So worthiness, like you're checking your value, your worthiness, your
Yeah.
impact. Oh my gosh. TWT family, you guys know that I love that so much. And then your network. So when you were talking about that I piece, especially, I was over here giving my little, my claps and saying you clocking it, Alex, because you mentioned some of my favorites, E.T., Lisa Nichols,
Yeah.
Les Brown,
I mean,
uh,
the Godfather, like I mean, to this day, right? You gotta be home. Like that's still like in my mind the greatest speech, motivational speech, whatever. It doesn't matter, motivational or not. It's just to have commanded that kind of audience, to draw on these stories, to be in the moment, really be immersed. And I've watched that probably once a month, right? Whenever as entrepreneurs, right? We have those moments, we get the dips, we need to check up from the neck up too. And I got to remind myself, like, yeah, I'm hungry. I can do this. I've been able to build businesses. I've been able to build communities. Who am I not to do this? All right, Alex. Ugh. game time, get back on the field, and
Yes.
no.
Though I'm telling you, those are my same ones that I go to when I'm feeling like I don't know if I could do this. And the thing of it is, when I listen to them, you said something so powerful. You said, it has to be bigger than you. And
Yeah.
all of those speakers, their story. They have such a story that compels you. Well, I believe, Alex, that there's a scripture in the Bible that says God's no respecter of person. So if
Mhm.
God could have Les Brown speak in audiences of 5,000. If God can have ET, he's doing stuff for like scholarships and bringing kids to school. A guy that was homeless that didn't, took him
Yeah.
12 years to get his degree. Lisa Nichols, that I'm telling you, I used to cling on her very word. And when she would talk about abundance now, and she's from, Southern California, like I'm from, so I could really relate to her and I could hear her story. I could see her story. I actually framed a whole talk, The Art of Storytelling, just from listening to her and how she taught me how to show people my story, not tell them.
Ooh, yeah.
Alex, who are you beyond the amazing um motivational speaker, bestseller, coach, father, all of that? It didn't just come, you didn't just pop up one day and that's who you were. That came from a place. Let's go back to that place that made you the man that you are today.
Yeah, yeah, and thank you for setting that up that way because people can get confused and see, the if you're watching the thing, right, the image on the screen, he's got the microphone, the suit. Oh my goodness, he must always had it. Like, no, yes, there are innate things within me that can do this, but it took a while to develop it. It's like anything else, right?
Mm,
LeBron didn't start dunking when he was 6 years old. Seven,
mhm.
whenever he started playing basketball, he had to learn how to dribble. He probably fumbled a little bit. And same thing with me. I'm going to take you back to 1989. So for you folks out there, that's the late 1900s, right? We're going to be funny right now. I didn't have any oxen that died. I didn't have any dysentery. So some of y'all going to catch that Oregon Trail reference. The other ones is going to fly over. It's all right. It's all good. We all family. So we take you
Yes.
back to take you back to 89, and this is me in first grade. I'm going through life, just having fun. It's a regular, ordinary day in my house. I grew up in Long Island, New York, so shout out to my hometown of Brentwood. Now I'm the youngest of four, so my mind trying to do the math. I'm like, wait a minute, there's one, two, three kids here. I'm four. This doesn't make sense. Something's not adding up. And I realized, like, oh, I'm not in this picture, right? I'm trying to like look around the frame. I'm trying to like look on the floor. Maybe I fell out. Maybe I'm behind my brother's big head. Maybe I'm in my mom's belly. I'm like looking, but I can't find myself. And I share that with you because in that moment, Tamika, I made this instant decision. Like I condemned myself right there in that moment that I'm not here, which means I don't exist. I'm invisible.
Mm,
And here's the thing about our words. Our words matter, right? In the beginning, all there was the word. The big guy, he spoke everything into existence. Someone had to speak this camera, this microphone, this computer into existence for us to have this happen. So I spoke death unto myself. I spoke myself as
mm.
not important. I spoke myself as somebody whose story didn't matter, whose voice didn't matter. It would have been easy for me to say, Mom, Dad, can we just take a new family photo? That would have cleaned up 30 years of hot mess.
Mm,
But I made that decision. I shut the walls off to receive help or to ask for what I wanted. So that does things like lower your confidence. It does things like keep you isolated from people. It does things like collected evidence to back up this premise of, all right, I don't belong here with my family at school. I don't belong with my classmates. I don't quite fit in with my neighborhood friends. I don't really fit in here. My teammates, everywhere, everybody else is an issue. But of course, at the center of it is me. But it was my
mhm,
lens is how I'm looking at it. And that translated into substance use through my teenage years, suicidal
wow.
thoughts to homicidal thoughts. I was a train wreck, honestly.
Mm,
Even though on the outside I kept up a good face because my way of fitting in was through humor and making everybody laugh, but I never felt like I could turn that off. So it was just
mm.
always clowning, never be serious. Humor was my way to deflect and keep people away from me.
Wow.
So I share all that because that was for years until 2005, and now here we go. I'm gonna age myself again. So December 2005, I find this lovely young lady on this thing called MySpace. So for you folks out there, like MySpace, what is MySpace? Like, it was Facebook before Facebook was a thing.
Right.
So I did everything the textbook wrong way that you should, holler at a shorty, right? I slid right into the DMs, right? I just and so I share that words matter and words actually create. So three words created two lives in our children, a life together as a married couple, and all this. So spoiler alert for all of you
Mhm.
waiting for the story, but the 3 words I said to her, "What up? Nice pics." That was my DM. That was all I said. Not "What's up?" Because I don't have time for that. I gotta get "What up?" Like, I gotta, like, get to the point. So, "What up? Nice pics." And somehow that worked because she responded back. We, added each other on our AOL buddy list, right?
Oh
Yeah, yeah. She got into my top 8 in on MySpace, and then January 2006, we officially became a couple. We haven't looked back since, and we've been married now for 15 years as of
no.
recording this,
Wow.
together for 19 years, and have 2 beautiful babies and some doggies. But that's a long-winded answer to that question of like, "Whoa, how did this happen?" Well, I had to take you back there through the muck because
Mm,
I didn't find any worth of myself. I was ready to throw my life away
mm,
on a path of self-destruction. And it's a trip to me because I think about, like, wow, my daughter and my son, I almost took away their lives by
yeah.
almost ending mine, or
Wow.
having these thoughts about doing that. And it's wild to think how God has really blessed me, because I think maybe the reason I didn't, because that little seed, that little thing of hope, that, like, what if, like,
Mm,
maybe I'm meant for more than this. But
mm.
I'm drinking, I'm smoking, I'm with friends, I'm with the wrong network. All my buddies every weekend was the same thing. Hey, let's get the 5 of us in a Toyota Corolla. That's how we're gonna ride around town, talk trash, talk about getting girls, get high, but not actually do anything with our lives.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I've been on both sides of, like, the network that holds you back, and the network that lifts you up.
Mm. Wow, I was, as you were speaking, I was thinking about today when I was at the school, I was talking to these kids about, first of all, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing and to
Yeah.
taking me back to those days of the Oregon Trail. Listen, I tell kids, y'all don't know the struggle. And y'all
You know
don't
what it's
know
like to watch
true
your whole family die.
right. Your whole family. And y'all don't know true happiness until you knew it was computer day. And you get to your
Yes.
whole class got to
Computer
go to the
day.
computer lab.
Oh god, go to the computer lab. I'm
Man.
like right there in that room now. That's crazy.
It was just pure joy, just pure joy. But as you were speaking, I was talking to the kids today at the school that I was really blessed to speak into the lives of these young people, and I would say 85% of them are people of color. And I was talking to them about, I had them imagine a bowl of oranges,
Mm,
and I said, if one of the oranges was moldy and like old, what would we do to that orange? And they were like, well, throw it away, of course. And I'm like, well, why? Well, because it's going to cause the other ones to
mm.
go bad. And that's exactly what you had to do. Sometimes we're the bad orange, and us identifying that and acknowledging that helps us to remove ourselves so that we don't infect other people. Oftentimes there's other people that are that bad orange, and we have to literally remove them out of our lives, or get out of that basket of fruit so that we don't be infected. It's so important for us to understand our network. The other thing that you were talking about are, so there's big T traumas and there's small T traumas. Everybody thinks that you have to have like this story of,
Well,
molestation and gang violence and blah
yeah,
blah blah.
my mama was on crack.
Right.
I was in prison, in and out. My daddy wasn't there. Like, no, I was just a regular middle school kid, right? Barbecues, pool parties, all that kind of stuff. Private school, but I manufactured. I mean, we created. We're the masters of our
Yeah.
own fate, masters of our own
Yeah.
future. So we create these different things, and obviously it's comparison, right? We're looking at, well,
Mhm.
he's got that. I want that, but I don't have that. So I must not
Mhm.
deserve that. Right? We
Mhm.
just descend on this level of consciousness, and
Mhm.
I would ask myself these questions of like, why can't I have this, and why is my life like that, and why? And they're not bad questions, but they're just not questions that could empower me. Once I
Mhm.
discovered coaching and speaking and getting support from mentors, my questions started to turn around and the quality of my life started to improve. And I started to ask myself, well,
Mhm.
given this situation, what do I want to do about it? What do I want to create from this? What's
Mm.
available to me? Who can help me? Oh shoot. Well, actually, right now I have a place to go. I'm not stuck with, well, life is like this. Oh well, too bad, so sad. It's just the way I am. Nothing will ever change. Hopefully one day the prince will come and save me. Oh, prince isn't coming. Oh, I'm the prince. I gotta I'm Superman. I gotta do it for
Absolutely.
me.
I tell the ladies in my coaching group, you're your own rescue. I learned that from Lisa Nichols. You are
Mm,
your own rescue. Words become worlds, right? What we say
yes.
about ourselves, what we say about our environment, our situation, it creates our reality. So now you're in this space after years of creating this narrative of not enoughness and not good
Mm,
enough and all this that switched, turned everything around, and now you get to help other people. Like you're literally, Alex, I don't think that there's not a more powerful stance to be someone's mirror. To help
mm,
someone see what's possible, to show someone through your own lived experience, through you commanding the stage with that mic in your phone, with that mic in your hand, telling them the possibilities of what is. When did that switch happen? And how do you help leaders really speak up and stand out?
that's whew, that's just it's powerful. It took me a second. I gotta receive that and absorb that for a
Yeah.
second. You know, that seed was planted December 2005 because
Mm,
my wife, at the time was my girlfriend. She saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. She enrolled me into this possibility of, hey, what if I can just move away from like this crowd and kind of take life a little bit more serious and do things a little bit differently. And that was a big catalyst. And then one of the next major phases, right? All these things happen in these series of years. 2014, we got our preschool daughter. We find out that we're pregnant with our son, who's gonna be born in 2015. So I'm thinking to myself, all right, what am I gonna do about this? I'm working a full-time job, but obviously we need some more money. So I get into entrepreneurship into financial services, and it's really more like network marketing of just recruiting people, things like that. But that was my introduction to ET and Ed Milet and Les Brown and Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, all these like all the people, right? Everybody. I'm just listening to these tapes, the CDs in my car. So yes, CDs. We had the booklets. I was changing booklets in changing the driver. I didn't have a 5 CD changer there, so I had the single disc, and yeah, that mindset started changing. And then 2016, I found coaching and speaking, and that's where the light bulbs really turned on.
mm,
Where, like I said before, we had to see it in order to be it. And I'd seen these people on YouTube, watching their videos, listening to their books and podcasts, but once I actually started going to conferences, because the job I was working allowed me to represent them as a sponsor. So I was being in the back of the room, watching speakers do their thing, making these big offers from stage. And the thought in my mind was like, I gotta learn how to do that. I want to learn how to
mhm,
do that. Move people, mobilize people, not necessarily for the money, but mobilize people for the impact and how they can how they can transform outside of just a week and a 3 day, no short window of time. But what's the long lasting change? So to tie it back to your question, I'm working with leaders of color. The work is we got to go to a place. We got to go to that secret dream, those fears, those worries, those things that they don't want to talk
mhm,
about because for so long it's been scary to think about, well, can I achieve? Is it all right for me to dream? Is it safe for me to speak up about what I want? Because
Mm,
so often, historically, at least here in the United States, like you can't do that.
mm,
There's no place for someone like you. Someone who looks like you and someone who looks like me, there's no future. You're either gonna do this, or this.
mhm,
And I think the big thing that happened for me was I realized that there's a fourth option and a fifth, and I started realizing there's choices I can make. I'm not just default setting. This is Alex 1.0. This is all he'll ever be. Throw away the rest of the instruction manual. Like, no, I get to reinvent myself and transform daily at any
mhm,
moment I want.
mhm,
And I just have to be in tune with that. So working with these leaders and helping them break these narratives and help them tap into their narrative, their real
mm,
story of success. I was working with this individual a couple years ago. He was an assistant director for this teaching fellows organization, and he wanted to get some promotions. He was thinking about it, but he was like, you know what, like I come from this area, I don't know if you're gonna really I'm fit in, right? He was just having all these doubts. I'm like, all right, well, tell me your story. He's like, what do you mean?
mm,
He's like, no, tell me your story. Like, what is this? Like, tell me about where you grew up. Tell me about that life. And he went through the whole deal. I'm like, okay. So someone who went from these circumstances, but like I reflected it back to him, like you said, like a mirror. I literally
yeah,
reflected everything he said back to me. And he was like, oh, I didn't even realize I was like that powerful. I'm like, yeah, we can't see it.
mhm,
We're in the frame. It takes someone
yeah,
outside to be like, man, that is a beautiful picture. No, you don't get it. Like the lighting's messed up here. My eyes are red here. Like, we started making all these things up that we're the picture. We're a beautiful frame. We're this masterpiece,
mm,
and we're focusing on like, well, this out of place, and my and what are we doing? What are we doing?
mhm, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Man, that what a powerful place to be in, in this space of personal development and motivation. We hear phrases like the riches are in the niches, right? And so when we
Yeah.
narrow down and we choose our audience, it really helps us to hone in and to help them to the maximum capacity with so many ways that you could have gone and so many areas that you could have helped people. Why people of color? Like, why did you make that kind of your quote unquote target audience to help them speak up and stand out?
Yeah, wow, that's a great question, and that was something I wrestled with for a long time because I didn't want to isolate a girl. I want everybody, and it's something, and it's okay, right? We want a lot of people to like us, and maybe that's tying back to little Alex, right? Wants people to
Mhm,
accept them and people please and all that. But when I would start speaking up more and start doing more podcasts and having more interactions, I found myself just being drawn to these types of individuals and recognize them through my story. I was like, man, what would I have wanted to hear? What would 17-year-old Alex needed to hear?
mhm.
What would he have wanted to see with someone who looks, this is gonna trigger some people, just ready for it. But would the stale pale male like have been
Mm,
the one to grab me, or would have been someone who looks like me who can speak my language and has been through the lens of others' view of like, all right, well, is he a prospect or is he a suspect?
right. Hello.
Like, ooh, that's scary. But the work for the past few years, especially with a community that I've co-founded called BIPOC Coach Collective,
Mm,
that's aimed for coaches of color to grow their businesses and advance professionally and elevate their voices. And I think just it was just a natural thing. And I'm obviously a black man. I want to help others win. I want to see that be the standard, be the norm, not oh my goodness, you speak so well. Where did you come from? Are you a unicorn? Like, no, like what are you talking about?
there's tons
Like
of
this
us
should
like this.
be yeah, right? Like am I on a different planet? But I think there's that opportunity to debunk that, and it may not happen in my generation. It may not even happen in my grandkids' generation if I'm blessed to have them. right? But I at least get to be a person that plants that seed, that puts that brick in the wall of building a foundation that is based on truth that, hey, we all have the same opportunities. Yes, there are historically and systemic issues that can hold us back and oppress us, but look what happens when we can mobilize together.
Come on.
Because if one person tries to do it all by themselves, and I've been that person, I got it. Tamika, you would have been like, Alex, you want some? I don't need no help. Get your hand. Like, I wouldn't like do it like that, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
that was my
yeah.
mentality. I would not be able to receive that help. But when I was,
Mhm.
but time and time in my life, right, that win framework that I shared with you earlier, every time that's been present, every time I've elevated how I value myself and how I've become focused, laser focused on intention, on a commitment, honestly, and focus on making sure my network, my circle eats, that they win and I
Mhm.
win too. Great miracles. And on the other side, I know what it's like to lose when you're by yourself, when you're isolated, when you're resentful, when you're ungrateful, and it's venom.
Mhm.
You're living with venom in your veins. Everybody else is happy and smiling, got the confetti, the champagne metaphorically, and I'm over here in the back just hating.
Mhm.
Well, life's too short to hate. I wanna love, I wanna serve people, I wanna care about people and do that for myself too. So
Mhm.
why not empower the people who look like me?
Yeah, yeah, that's good. Going back to your analogy about, MJ and
Yeah.
LeBron and Kobe, all of these, what we like to call the GOATs, all these men that have really um changed the way that we even view basketball. We've also seen everyone has watched some type of game, whether you're a football fan, baseball. I'm like a sports enthusiast. I
Yeah.
can't wait, because it's the last of the match
Yeah.
madness that's on tonight, and we get
Yeah.
to see these boys like really battle it out to see who's the champ. And we've seen games where somebody tried to shoot the ball like ball hog, and they ruined it for the entire team because they were playing selfish, and they were being a ball hog and not
Mm.
passing and not looking for good looks, and they ended up getting hurt. All kind of things can happen when you don't understand those three things that you talked about: your worthiness, your impact, and your network. How we all can really lift each other as we climb. Alex, you are the epitome of the five pillars of Tuesday with Tamika, living a life to inspire and not impress, right? Because it's very simple or very easy to have all these accolades, but you're not helping anybody. Lifting as you climb. I love that this community, this coaches, of this BIPOC coaches federation that you have created to help us to see you're not alone, and there's other people that can lift you as you continue to climb. Turning your trials into treasures. That story that you told yourself over and over, you have turned that into something. I'm sure there's hundreds of thousands of little Alexes that did not see themselves, that couldn't, that felt unseen, felt unheard. And so they're on
Yeah.
this path of destruction. But you, just because you have turned your life around from that one story that you told, you get to help these young people and these young men and these young women change their life around, lifting as you climb, and then also opening up and allowing God to restore those broken pieces, because I'm just a firm believer that we can't do none of it without him. You got it. That
Yeah.
hope that you talked about, that little glimmer, that was God. That was like God, like,
Yeah.
Alex, I created you. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. Like, you could do this. And then opening up to love, your beautiful wife. Behind every good man, I don't care what nobody say, it's a good woman.
I'll even update you with that. Beside every great man,
Yes. Yes. Besides
beside
every
it's a
great
partnership.
man.
It's a Yeah, that's my best half, and I can get into. We can go for 2 hours me talking about my wife. I just know that without it, I say this on stage. Sometimes it takes one person to change your life.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
one person. It took me 22 years to find her, but once
Mm,
I got her, that's it.
that's
Game
it.
over.
That's it. And you guys together are building this beautiful empire to help other people. Alex, I told you before we hit record, I was like, I done found a male version of me. I could literally talk to you forever because it's very refreshing to see someone else out here doing the root work, like I call it, pulling up those weeds, helping people change mindsets, and really helping our community and our people be a better people. Alex, how can people get in contact with you? How do we get your book? How do we connect with you outside of this podcast? I know the TWT family, I know that they're going to be hungry for more. How do my brothers that listen faithfully to this podcast, and my sisters that may be like, you spark something in them and they're ready to speak up and stand out? How do we learn more? Tell us how to get in contact with you.
Sure. So there's two simple ways. One, if you have your phone ready, whichever side this is, you can scan that. It goes to my link tree, so it's got access to my website, podcasts, all the socials. If you're not into that, then just go on speakeralexdumas.com. And if you want to email me, alex at speakeralexdumas.com, I'll send you this book. This is Speak Up, Stand Out. And this is a book of questions. It's essentially me coaching you through these three pieces of that framework I told you about, like the word of intention, the network, and just these different questions of, and there's some deep things. So this is not something like, all right, I'm just going to read them. No, no, take your time with it, because I love what you said about the roots, right? You got to get to the roots to get the fruit,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
And God only breaks the branches in us that don't bear fruit.
that's it. That's it. I mean, we could end the podcast with that because that was a whole bar. Thank you guys, TWT, so much for joining us this another week. All of Alex's information will be in the show notes. So as soon as I stop running my mouth, run over to the show notes and click those links to make sure that you connect with him on his socials. I mean, you scrolling anyways. It might as well be time for you to add some motivation and something positive into your daily scroll. Go click that link so you can grab his book, you guys. I want to thank you, Alex. Tell your beautiful wife and children. Thank you for allowing us to spend time for you to spend time with us this Tuesday and share with the TWT family. TWT family, until next week, continue to live a life to inspire, continue to lift as you climb, continue to turn those trials into treasures, continue to open up and allow God to fully restore you in love as if you've never been hurt. Until next week, bye bye.